So now I want to show you how to remove the skin from a fish fillet. This is something that you can ask the fishmonger to do for you. And depending on their skills, sometimes they're really good at it. Sometimes they'll take a lot of the meat off of the fillet, and unfortunately you're paying for the whole fillet with the weight on when the skin is on there. So it's nice to know the skill to do it. A lot of times I don't take the skin off of the salmon because the skin is delicious when you fry it up in a pan. But let's say for this particular dish I'm making, I'm cooking it in the parchment packages like a recipe I have in Good Fish. You're going to need to have the fillet skinned. So I'm going to show you a technique for doing that. You can use a chef knife, you can use a large scimitar, you can use a boning knife. I think it's easiest to use either one of these. Okay, so I'm going to use my large boning knife today, but a chef knife does work just as well. First thing you're going to do is go towards the tail end, and you're going to release a little section of the tail like so. You're going to lose just a tiny bit of meat in that process right here. Can you see that? And then I'll take a smaller knife, and this is a little trick I learned that is very convenient. You're going to cut a small slit in the tail, right, like so. And that's for your finger. And that's going to be able to hold the whole fillet up in the air like so. Not that you really need to, but that's kind of fun to do it. If you didn't make this technique, you could just grab a towel and you could hold it like this, but I kind of like just to be able to have your finger doing it right there. So you're gonna take your knife, holding the tail firmly, and what you're doing is more moving the skin than you are the knife. Your knife is gonna be at a slight downward angle, and you want a very sharp knife to do this technique. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna start wiggling the tail piece, okay, just the skin piece, more than you're really cutting. Okay, do you see how I'm doing that? You might need to move it down a little bit closer to you. The whole time I'm just sort of a little bit using the knife to cut, but more just wiggling with my left hand. And you want to check your work as you're going and make sure that the skin is actually coming off cleanly. And then you're going to bring it a little bit closer to the edge and keep doing the same technique. When you're done, you should have a fully skinned fillet, and then the whole skin can come off like so. And that's how you skin a whole fish fillet. But let's say you didn't have a whole fish fillet, you just had a part of a fish, like if you bought this in a package and you still wanted to take the skin off. This is a little bit harder than the grabbing it by the tail, but it's still possible. Same idea, you want to make a little tiny cut right where the skin is, where it meets, the flesh meets the skin, and I see a little tag there. And you want to have your hand flat. And then I find it easier with using a fillet to just grab it with a towel, because it gets very slippery. So you're going to grab that with a towel, you're going to put your knife down here, and then the same kind of technique, you're going to kind of wiggle your left hand, if you're right-handed, while you're holding. Keep checking your work and making sure it's just the skin that's coming up and you're not leaving any fillet. And you want to check. Some people will cut some of this off. I find it's got a lot of flavor in it. It's really up to you. So that's how you would take the skin off of a partial piece of fish.